Hi, my name is Johnny McFadden. I'm one of the co-founders of Mountaineer Integrated Care. We're one of the vertically integrated medical cannabis companies in West Virginia, and I've been working in and following the cannabis industry in West Virginia for basically as long as it's existed. I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of people about cannabis in West Virginia, and I've found time and time again that once people understand the plant and the policy and industry around it, most average West Virginians are on board. And that's why I've called up some of my friends in the industry who are experts in their area. And I've asked them to come on and educate people with me because there is such a dearth of information out there. And I'm so happy to introduce our first guest on this program, Linda Bodie. She's the CEO of Element Federal Credit Union. They're the credit union designated to hold all funds relating to cannabis for the state of West Virginia. And there's no more knowledgeable person about cannabis banking in West Virginia than her. So without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, I'm here with Linda Bodie. She is CEO of Element Federal Credit Union. They won the RFP to handle all funds relating to medical cannabis for the state. First of all, Linda, how you doing today? But also, after that, can you tell me if I was right in how I described that, and also exactly what an RFP is and exactly how Element is involved in this?
Right. Well, thanks for having this little chat, Johnny. I appreciate it. You are technically correct. Element did win the RFP with the state of West Virginia. And for those who don't know what RFP means, it means request for proposal. So basically, the state was in need of a banking institution to serve the medical cannabis industry. So anytime the state needs a vendor to provide a function, a service, a product, they have to put it out to bid. So they created a bid document. It was very long and very cumbersome. And we, along with five other businesses, completed that proposal, and we were ultimately selected as the winner of that bid document. So that's a very short version of what happened. So we were picked to provide the banking services for the state of West Virginia for the medical cannabis program.
Yeah, and I know that there was a process that happened, and then it kind of nobody. There was some technical stuff that it got. This initial RFP had to be redone. Can you say anything about that? I mean, is there anything interesting about that other than just caused maybe a little bit of a delay?
Yeah, so when all of us initially bid on that first proposal, apparently none of us met the qualifications in that proposal, and so they had to rewrite it so that give it a second try. So on the second try, I think maybe it was a little bit more clear on some of the items that were needed, and we were able to bid better, or again make things more clear. Just this was all brand new. So I'm not sure that anybody knew exactly what was needed initially. So and I think you could see that from the legislation as well. They tried to, the first time, and then they had to clean up some of the legislation. They're still working on that too. So it's such a new thing. You never know what you're going to get into until you're into it, and then you realize, wow, we need to make some changes with it. So that
Well, that kind of
did
seems
cause
to
a
be the
delay.
theme of it. That kind of
Yeah.
seems to be a theme. And, one thing, probably the first time I became aware of you, we've talked about it before, was a West Virginia Law School event where I believe counsel for the state treasurer was speaking. And it was fairly interesting stuff. Um, and they were explaining what the problem was. And how I remember it was, she said, well, nobody will, banks won't take this money. Nobody will take this money. And I remember you basically raising your hand or something, saying, I'm over here. Like I would love to, or we would love to help with this issue. So maybe can you explain kind of your side of the story of that, maybe how it's kind of emblematic of how the process has gone?
Yeah, so initially when the cannabis banking legislation was passed in West Virginia, that's when I personally started taking notice of, there needs to be a banking solution for the businesses, because that's always been an issue in other states and forever and ever. Um, so during the process, I think the first couple of years in the state trying to develop the program, they discovered that the state's bank, who they had their contract with, would not bank this industry. So that was something they had to revisit with legislation to change the cannabis banking bill to allow non-banks, banks and credit unions or other financial institutions to bid on state projects. Just to educate your viewers, educate you, West Virginia State Code says that only banks can do business with the state of West Virginia. So nobody else can do business with the state.
Now, why was that? Why was that in the first place?
Well, you have to ask the legislators about that. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how long that's been a thing, but if anybody out there wants to think about changing state code, it'd be cool to add credit unions and other financial institutions. So anyway, we had the legislation was changed to allow people other than just banks, institutions other than technically banks, to bid. So that was like a year delay. And during the meeting that you were talking about, I think that was the law where they're saying we can't find anybody to bank. And that's when I raised my hand and said, well, we can. However, we're a credit union. So you would have to allow us the opportunity to bid. You would have to, change code. So I just kept hearing, no one will bank it. No bank will touch it. No bank will touch it. Well, a credit union would touch it. So that got some attention. And for anybody who knows me personally, I'm not one to speak out like that, but I did that day, and you kind of remember it. But I wanted the program to be successful, and I didn't want that to be a barrier. And I wanted people to know there were solutions out there. You just had to look. You had to find the right people.
Yeah. Now, was it just you because a difference in how credit unions and banks operate, or was it just you guys that said we'll kind of be bold here and see opportunity here and see certainly a need? Was it because you're a credit union that you can do this, or is it just a different mindset?
Well, banks and credit unions can do it, and I believe it's the mindset of the institution. It's a very risky industry. A lot of compliance involved, a lot of ways that you can.
Oh yeah, I certainly know that as in the industry.
It's yeah. It's not for the faint of heart. So I think that people or institutions just weren't ready for the risk, and because it's so new, even though it's not new, it's new here. But I was doing my research for years, and I saw you a lot, and I went to all the law school events, all the public hearings to get as much education as I could, because if we were going to bank the businesses, let alone the state, then I certainly wanted to be educated in all facets of the industry. And it was a lot of work. It's still a lot of work. But yeah,
I could relate to that. I mean, if I was just in this for the money, I would have picked a different industry because it's been so much groundwork to be laid that it is a lot of hard work. But that's why, frankly, I admire you and how hard that you've worked. And I tell people, I had somebody ask me, it's like, well, isn't there a banking issue that's still not resolved? And I told him, well, there's a person, her name is Linda Bodie, and she's basically single-handedly solved the state's banking problem. So that's basically how I describe you. So I appreciate all the work that you've done.
Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this deep dive into medical cannabis banking in West Virginia. If you want more information like this, check out my blogs on mountaineermedia.org. I recently published an article, State of the State's Cannabis Industry, and that's got a lot of general information about where exactly we are right now in the state. Also, just a quick disclaimer, Linda and I's opinions are our own and don't necessarily represent the organizations that we're a part of unless we say so. So with that being said, let's get back to it.
All right, Linda, that was very, very helpful. So you operate and handle all money from the state, but you don't necessarily bank the companies, do you?
Well, technically, there's no one to bank at this point, but that is a true statement. We do plan on banking the growers, processors, dispensaries as part of our program. And in fact, that initially was our plan until the whole state banking thing came up. We hadn't ever planned to actually bank the state, but it just happened. So yes, we do plan to bank the industry, the businesses associated with medical cannabis operations.
And as someone who has operated a business with the word cannabis in the name, and this was a nonprofit. This is not doing anything could be close to illegal. We're just literally talking about cannabis. We're not selling it. We're not growing. We're not doing anything besides talking about it. It is a massive headache. I mean, you basically, you're better off not having cannabis in your name just because they'll see it. And sometimes they'll find out that you're involved later and they'll kick you out. You have to find another bank. I mean, it can be a tremendous headache. But just having somebody who understands, I mean, that is just extremely valuable from a business standpoint, because like I said, it can be, a headache. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening on the federal level right now. The U.S. Senate, for the first time, maybe ever, Senate Majority Leader Schumer is on board for federal reform. The House and the presidency obviously appears to be on board with federal reform. Is there something from a federal level that you personally like to see that would make things run smoother and just run better?
Well, obviously, legalization would take care of a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would happen. I assume someday. But even more firm legislation, and I really can't speak in depth on that, but programs are running according to FinCEN guidance. As long as you follow those guidelines, you're kind of okay. I mean, you are okay, but still anything could happen. Just need some firm guidance and legislation that says, yes, it's okay to do it. This is how you do it, or make it legal and it's a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the ending of federal prohibition, it really wouldn't change all that much from a policy standpoint. States, they could still, have their own laws. It's just affirming what's already happening. It's just basically would be just the federal government just saying, we're already treating this like, okay, you can do whatever you want. Let's just put it on paper and make that position official. So that's kind of how I describe the ending of federal prohibition. And I am hopeful for the first time. If you've ever talked to me before this year, I would have been very pessimistic on, it's been 5 to 10 years for the last 20 years, or for a while. But I mean, now there really is a real chance that reform is going to happen, before the 2022 midterms. It's never been a situation where pretty much everybody in charge wants to do something. But we'll focus on West Virginia. That's what we have. That's really the only community that we care about. Probably, I don't want to speak for you, but that's our community. And one thing I'm really concerned about with doing in the state is doing whatever I can to try to do some restorative justice projects, because a lot of the permit holders, they look like me, and a lot of people who have suffered under the war on drugs have not looked like me. They're so often forced on socioeconomic and racial lines. One thing I want to do is, by state code, there is supposed to be a waiver administered by the Bureau for Public Health that would allow, that would remove the prohibition of certain drug convictions, those people to work in the industry. Frankly, those are the only people who do have experience with this plant, because we have this issue of we want West Virginians to benefit, but you couldn't possibly have people who did everything legally and had cannabis experience and have lived in the state their entire life. So it's this kind of this okay, well, we truly can't have both. So I want to help people get jobs who have been affected by this. We're also working on expungement seminars to get get this off people's records. So we've talked about what we can do to try to use this industry to help help people. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about what Element is doing in that regard?
Yeah, we credit unions are different from banks in our mission. And each credit union's mission is different, but we're cooperatives, we're financial cooperatives. And initially we're formed because back in the day, and even now, I mean, banking is still an issue for people. You had to be really affluent to have a good banking system for you. If you weren't affluent, low income, poor, it was really hard to get affordable financial services. So credit unions kind of filled that void. And we said, hey, we're going to pool our money together. We're going to work as a cooperative group. Some people will save money and some people will borrow money. And so we work as our own little economy, I guess. And part of that mission is we're people helping people. We're not people helping big business like a bank. We serve our membership and we make solutions for our membership. And that means doing crazy things like getting into marijuana banking and doing things that have a real impact. It's not about the money. Clearly, it's not about the money. It's all about the people, and that's the way we've been. So we are working on a program right now to just trying to test it out to see how to get banking services, period, for formerly incarcerated persons. Because one of the problems when you leave, you've been in prison or you've been incarcerated for a while, and then you're thrown back out into the world, and maybe you can't get a bank account. And if you can get a bank account, it's probably going to cost you a lot of money. So we're trying to work on a program to anybody who's getting back into the population, that we're giving them a chance. We're giving them the tools, the banking services needed without, really big fees or hoops to jump through to give them the chance to be successful. So that is one part of our mission, is to how can we provide solutions to people who really need it and provide it in an affordable way.
Well, I can't imagine coming out of a prison and maybe you're not exactly sure where you're going to go, and you're carrying everything you own on your person, and you're on the streets. I mean, I just can't even imagine that. I mean, how do you start building a career if you can't even put your money in a bank? All your money's in your pockets. I mean,
right. And if you do get a job, then you're going to need a place to put your paycheck. And where's that going to be if the institution won't open your account, or they're going to judge you when they do open your account? So it's that. I mean, I would be scared. I mean, judgment is all there is, right? For so many things, and we just want to We want to help people, period.
Well, and that's what I love about you guys. And I've banked with you guys before and interacted with some of your people, and I mean, it was literally the most pleasant experience. Like in West Virginia, I love living in the state because when you call somebody's office, you get a friendly voice, and you get somebody usually who's there to help you. And that's just especially true with calling into you guys, and um, them just sitting down and trying to work through problems and brainstorming together. You feel like you're on a team, and your guys' connection and commitment to the community is really spectacular. And just you guys, just with your mindset, not waiting around and being bold. I think that in West Virginia and all over the country, we just need leaders who will be bold and not, well, we need a year to figure out this problem. They'll just go and say, let's solve it. Let's solve it as soon as possible. Let's get to work. Is there anything else you want to talk about on just kind of the cool stuff you're doing? I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of just being a community leader and just trying to promote positivity?
Yeah, so like I said, our mission is just to help people, and we listen to our members. And if there's a space that we're not filling that we're able to fill, then we'll do that. One of our most recently officially launched products is called the Honestly Me card, debit card, credit card, that allows transgendered persons to use their preferred name on their debit or credit card. We've actually been doing this for years. We just never marketed it. We never called it, gave it a name. And we found out that, wow, people, they need to know about it. It needs to be a branded, it needs to be a promoted offering. So we officially branded it, even though it was going on for years. We actually had a couple of kids open accounts with their parent. And they were so super excited that we offered that product to them, that they could use their preferred name on their cards, and to actually deal with a banking institution without judgment, that accepted them, that loved them for who they are. And that's how we try to treat all of our members. So if there's a way that we can change our processes, introduce new products, be what people need, then that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to provide. So little things like that we do just constantly. And again, we don't wait years. We jump in and we start working on it. We do it and then formulate it as we are developing whatever product or solution it is.
Well, that's an awesome mindset. And again, I just want to thank you for all your work and all Element's doing, and wish you the best of luck, because the medical cannabis industry is getting up and going. Over the past couple of weeks here, the dispensary dispensary permits have been awarded. So I've been really busy, and I'm sure you are as well. So in that light, I'll let you go here. Thanks again, and just appreciate all you do.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Johnny.
All right. Thank you.